Stranger than fiction. I'd like to tell a story. A long time ago, back in the late 80s, I met the girl next door. For some of us. We were high school sweethearts, and the rest is history. No, that didn't happen. Actually, I met a girl online back in 1999 using an online dating site called OkCupid. Not OkCupid. The predecessor of the site, OkCupid. That didn't happen either, actually. It was the heyday of AOL. OkCupid hadn't been invented yet. We were still dabbling in email. There was a movie called You've Got Mail that just came out with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. And they met online using this new strange invention called email. But I'd like to talk about my real story, which is stranger than fiction. There I was, happy in my $279 a month studio apartment in Joplin, Missouri. Life was good. I had just paid off my $13,000 in student loans in only 2 years, and I was looking forward to a life of debt-free life. And kiss that goodbye, right? When I got a letter in the mail, and the letter said, your apartment block is being converted into government-subsidized housing, and your lease will be terminated in the next 30 days. Please contact the property manager for other options you may be eligible for. So I was in a conundrum. I needed to move into, and the other options were a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom apartment. So I checked into the 2-bedroom apartment. It was going to be about $425, and it was pretty nice. It had big vaulted ceilings. So I checked with one of my friends. His name was Brandon. I said, hey, do you want to be my roommate? I have to get a bigger apartment, and we can split the rent. And he says, sure, okay. So we worked it out, and we moved in together. So life was good, happy for a few months. And one day, Brandon came home with his hand all wrapped up. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, I cut myself at work, and I went to the hospital emergency room to get stitched up. But I got a date with the receptionist. I'm going, damn, you're good, man. You're good. So there's actually several factors to this story that make it very, very unlikely. And so he cut his hand at work, which is a pretty remote chance. He was working at a factory that made jet skis, and I guess the tool jumped and hit him in the hand. But he ended up getting a ride with somebody at work, and according to company policy, you were supposed to go to a hospital called Freeman, but the person who gave him a ride took him to St. John Hospital instead. So that's another thing that probably wasn't going to happen. And while in the waiting room, Brandon was in the waiting room of the emergency room, and a girl named Melissa came through and saw him on her way to the restroom. And they recognized each other from a college class that they'd taken together. And they started talking, and it went pretty well, and she gave him his number, or she gave him her number. So that's how he came home, and he was talking about what happened there. Anyway, they go out on a date, or I don't know if it's actually a date, but they went out to lunch, and she said she's taking Calculus 2 at Missouri Southern, and he goes, well, my roommate KC, he's an engineer, and he's probably taken that before. Maybe he would help you out there. And so I ended up getting a call from her, and I kind of brushed her off. I said, well, I wasn't that good at it. I got like a C+ in it, so man. But she was persistent. She kept calling back, and eventually I warmed up to her, and I never did any tutoring, and she passed Calc 2, but we got together, and we've been happy for a long time now. That was the summer of 1999, and we got engaged 6 months later, and we got married 6 months after that on July 22nd, 2000. And Brandon was the best man at my wedding, and I gave him a golden Band-Aid. And he told everybody our story, and he's now happily married with someone else. No hard feelings, okay? So, yeah.
He was blinding you, it looked like.
Okay. It's for the video, actually. Okay. I got a couple pictures here. Anyway, the moral to the story while it's warming up, not all HS&E incidents or eviction notices are bad. But this turned out okay. The Lord works in mysterious ways, and sometimes it pays to be a geek or a nerd, whichever you're like, whatever. And another moral is, the more friends you have, the more opportunities you have, and the better life you're going to have. So make lots of friends, people. Okay.
Bruce? There we go.
So this is, my story is kind of like, this is back in the 80s, way back, Bruce. So this guy, most of you probably seen it, Michael J. Fox. He's Marty McFly. He has to go back in time, or he gets stuck back in time. And he's got to make all these things happen, including getting this man, his future father, hooked up with this beautiful woman who's his mom, who almost falls in love with him instead. So all the stars have to line up just right, and they have to come up with 5 gigawatts of electricity to get him back to where he belongs. So pretty remote odds of actually happy ending to the story. But let's look at the odds in my story. They picked out 2 of the 10 buildings for government housing, and I was in one of them. That's 1 in 5 odds. And I asked around for roommates, and Brandon said he would do it. That's maybe like 1 in 4 odds. Brandon cut his hand, let's say once every 4 years at a factory you're going to cut your hand, you have to get stitches. That's about 1 in 1,000 days. Took him to the wrong hospital. That can happen fairly easily, but let's say 1 in 4. And then Melissa wasn't even working in the front office. She was in a back office, and she was just on her way to the restroom when he was sitting there. Let's call that 1 in 10 odds. And he's pretty charming, so he got our number. That's 50-50, so good for him. Good on him. Anyway, if you're familiar with statistics, that's 1 in 1.6 million that me and Melissa are together now. And here's our beautiful, happy family at our Disney cruise last June. This is my son, Spencer. He's 6.5, and my daughter, Melanie. She's going to be taller than all of us here in a couple of years. And she'll be 13 here in a few weeks. And they're straight-A students even in kindergarten. This is my beautiful wife, Melissa. She's a math teacher at Edison Prep in Tulsa. So, happy endings. Hope you like my story, everybody. Thank you.